educate, women on just the opportunities that are out there. It's like, no, it doesn't mean you have to be a truck driver. There are a ton of other positions within the industry that allow you to be a part of it, right? That, that you can be in customer service, you could be in HR, you can be in finance, you could be in dispatch, you can be in, in the shop, you can be in mechanics, right? Like, I mean, there's so many different avenues, and so many places for you to gain multiple types of experience, right? So it's like you can kind of try out everything, and for the people who very much like myself are, we don't know what we want to be when we grow up.
Right.
That's true.
Exactly.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Me too. So, there's so much opportunity for that, and at multiple skill levels too. That's the thing too. It's like people come in and say, oh, well, I don't have a degree, or I don't know about this. It's like, that's fine. You don't have to, you can start out here. And if you want to get to that position, you can work your way to that position, So I think it's just educating that and changing that mindset, right? Of when you hear transportation, it doesn't just mean a truck driver, right? There are, I think there's 3.5 million truck drivers. But what was the number? I think it's like there are 8 million people though that work in the transportation industry, right? That make it all work, right? So, the behind the scenes people, right? We're not the actual drivers, but we're the behind the scenes kind of helping to make sure that driver gets where they need to go safely. So I think that's the big piece of, just how we need to encourage women to get into the industry.
Yeah. You know what? I got a tricky question here. A lot of companies out there have safe rooms for women. So if something's going on, they feel safe. There's not going to be any repercussions or anything like that. They can go and they can talk to their HRBP and feel safe about it, that something went wrong. Should a male have a room, or should a company have a safe room for males?
Absolutely. I mean, that needs to be, all the way around, because, I don't know the statistics, so I'm not even going to pretend and throw out any numbers. But, we do talk about, women having issues, and that's where, I don't want to say problems, but, where we need that space. But, it happens for men as well, so, I mean, it's, there's harassment goes both ways. Bullying goes both ways, just uncomfortable situations goes both ways. So yeah, there definitely just needs to be a general safe space, for someone to go to within a company to be able and feel comfortable enough, to have someone to talk to bring that up and feel safe enough that there's not going to be any repercussions on them, right? So that it's going to be handled in a way that is, sufficient and safe for everybody involved. So,
yeah. And the reason why I say that is that, I've been in the industry for a long time. And when we used to go to the water fountain, we would discuss and there'd be cursing and whatever. We really didn't think about that 20 or 30 years ago, because it wasn't something that was prevalent, that anybody really discussed as they discuss now. And so when that happens, guys have to watch what they're saying. They really do. They can't be free will and say what they want to say in a corporate, environment. And that's why I said I think that would be a great idea for companies out there to incorporate such a thing as a male safe room, so that they can go in there and be educated, get trained, especially when there's more women in an environment or less. It doesn't really matter. It's the way that you conduct business and communicate with each other.
Sure.
That's interesting you say that too, because I feel like men and women are so different that I don't know that a male would be like, I need to go to this space, whether it's to educate or get a break or I feel like they would probably be just as quiet as some women are sometimes. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting. We'll have to ask some of our male guests coming up.
Yeah.
Definitely, because it's if their job is at risk for saying something stupid, and
Yeah.
they think that it's sexual harassment or going over to hug, their counterpart or whatever, that's preyed upon in a lot of corporations, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's hardly any companies out there that have their husband and wife working in the same corporation, or if they do, they're far away from each other because, productivity, efficiency, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's why I suggested that some time ago, that it's, I just think that it would be fantastic for corporations to enforce that and make.
Yeah. I think, just speaking on the transportation industry side, where I would say companies would struggle with it a little bit maybe is, the majority of the trucking companies out there, they're small businesses, right? They're not huge. So, and one thing that, if you're not part of this industry, then, you're not familiar enough to know though, that, I mean, the companies that I've been a part of and had as clients, or, been, lucky enough to go in and meet with their people or anything like that, they're families, they're probably family run businesses, Christy's familiar with that. Right. And the people that work there, everybody just becomes family. Right. And everybody that's worked there for the most part has probably been there just about since the company started. So, the way you talk to each other and interact with each other, yes, can be very different, and it can be very difficult for those groups if a new person comes in, all of a sudden you have to kind of undo what you've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years, right? It's like, oh, we can't act like that or say those things because this person has just joined. Right. And it's kind of hard to switch your brain, right? And so,
and just to talk about that a little bit more too, because of my family business and my dad, again, having that family atmosphere, but then my dad was the biggest HR nightmare that you could have. Because the stuff that would come out of his mouth, it's like, you can't say that. But I think, again, owning the company or whatnot, I think some people feel like it's their right to say whatever they want. And
exactly.
Again, that old school mentality, and maybe there's not a lot out there anymore, but my goal was to keep him out of the office. So we didn't have any issues when it came to that, because some of the stuff is laughable, to be quite honest, that he says, and thank God our people were they thought it was funny versus taking it another way, but it's a serious problem. It could be a serious problem. So. But on that note, we're going to go into our sponsors here for a quick couple minutes. So I want to talk about today's episode of Empowering Women into Logistics podcast is brought to you by Freight Validate and TAFS. We are proudly sponsored by TAFS, your trusted partner in transportation factoring solutions. TAFS specializes in purchasing accounts receivable from small and medium-sized transportation companies, helping them boost profits and increase cash flow. With a focus on exceptional client service, TAFS has risen to become a leader in transportation factoring industry. Ready to elevate your company's financial success? Well, contact TAFS today at 913-393-6100 to learn more about how we can support your business. Visit TAFS.com. TAFS.com for comprehensive information on their services and start maximizing your company's potential with TAFS.
Trucking excellence meets unparalleled service. Enjoy exclusive benefits like our fantastic tire discounts. Need cash fast? Try our 1-hour advances. Plus, we're here for you 365 days a year. Need loads? We have a pro dispatch service. This is why TAFS was recognized as the top factoring company in 2023. You'll benefit from strategic partnerships for enhanced operations. Access business loans and manage your finances easily with our client portal, F2 Fuel Card, and mobile app. At TAFS Factoring, we're more than just a factoring company. We're your partner in success. Contact us today to see how we can help your trucking business thrive.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Freight Validate, the ultimate identity and compliance verification system for the logistics industry. Freight Validate empowers shippers, brokers, carriers, and more to ensure compliance with regulations and mitigate fraud risk. With Freight Validate, you can easily verify entities' compliance status and identify potential threats within minutes. Don't risk your business with unverified carriers or brokers. Choose Freight Validate for peace of mind. Learn more at freightvalidate.com and start your verification process today.
Motor carriers depend on Freight Validate to stop fraud, but they can't do it alone.
Shippers must verify every carrier that comes in to pick up a load.
Hey Siri, check Freight Validate.
Sure, what's the MC number?
123127.
The company you can rent ME LLC is a carrier and cannot be completely validated at freightvalidate.com. The platform is not able to verify information obtained in federal, state, or public sources in regard to identity, risk assessment, or compliance history with 100% certainty. Please follow company protocols for additional safety and compliance vetting. For more information, please go to freightvalidate.com.
Fly-by-night freight brokers, how can I help you?
Mr. Broker, why did you send me this carrier? They are not validated on Freight Validate. Please do not send me any carrier that is not validated on Freight Validate. If you are not using Freight Validate, I suggest you start. I'm sorry, we cannot load you. Your company does not meet our compliance standards. Please call your dispatcher for more information.
Fraud starts with fraud. It ends with Freight Validate.
Awesome.
We're back.
Awesome. Well, let's get into something a little bit different. Let's see here. Can you talk a little bit about what qualities make a great female leader? You've had, 25 years in the industry. Obviously, you've probably learned, you've learned a lot along the way. So what type of skills do you feel, are good with a female leader?
Sure. I think having empathy, any leader, right? Having empathy is kind of first and foremost, regardless of male or female. You want someone who shows just as much respect as they are given with the company, someone who kind of is worthy of the respect, right? Someone who's engaging, not someone who just is kind of holed up in their office all day and you just don't really know, what's going on with them, or they don't come out to really kind of check on the business overall and touch base with people. So, you want a leader that's engaging, somebody who kind of gets in the trenches too. You can't be afraid to roll your sleeves up, right? And get in there and do the dirty work right next to, all of your people. Sometimes that's what has to be done. That brings me back to just the respect piece, right? If I'm struggling with something, I don't want someone to just say, okay, well, good luck figuring it out.
Right.
Let me know how that goes. You want someone, you want someone who, will kind of get in there and say, well, let's figure it out. Let's see how it goes. You want, and then to have that cheerleader, right? You want to cheer your people on and let them know, hey, you're doing a great job. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that momentum going. So, to me, those are kind of the key pieces of being a great leader in general. One of the scenarios that I've brought up before in some other conversations is, somebody who kind of like your parent, when you're learning to ride your bike without training wheels, you want, I think, a leader, the parent doesn't run in front of the kid, right? You don't run in front of the kid and be like, come on. You kind of,
I do sometimes. Because we're like, faster.
Right. Let's go. But you're usually behind them, right? Kind of guiding them, but not pushing them along the way, but giving that guidance. And then once they kind of get it, you just kind of let them go and watch. And then again, that cheerleader comes in once, because they don't even realize they're doing it, right? And so to me, that's what makes a great leader.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the biggest piece is empathy that a lot of leaders don't have, unfortunately. And you talk about it enough that you hope that people do pick up on it, that maybe don't have the empathy or why it's so important. Because it's interesting. It's something that I went through with my father, and he would do anything for anybody. But when it came to working in the business, it was like, don't you have any empathy towards anyone in their situation? Like, no, he would tell people, you're here to make me money. And I'm like,
oh,
yeah, I'm not even kidding. That like people get that, right? But you don't tell them that to their
right.
kids.
It's like, you're not wrong. However, don't say it out loud.
So when we talk about damage control, it was hard.
Come on, Dad.
I mean, everyone loved him, but they also respected him. I think, it's just such a weird situation. But yeah, I think empathy is the biggest thing that I think a leader needs to have to be most effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one critical thing is emotional intelligence.
Yes.
I mean, I think that is the critical factor that is lacked in a lot of corporations. I think that they need, part of their training should be that. I mean, more than anything else. I mean, it's listening with intent. We talk about it so many times. Some people just listen to listen, but they don't gain any knowledge from what they may have heard. But if you listen with intent and you out emotional intelligence, you'll be able to respond accordingly and not say the wrong things that lift them up instead of tear them down, and that's what happens in a lot of corporations out there.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of practice. And I think just like wanting to be better yourself and looking into what you can do. And I think asking your people, what can you do as a leader to better help, whether it's them, the group, the company. It's interesting because I ask people, especially my COO, like, can you tell me things that I need to do better or work at? And I feel like people are afraid to tell me because I own the company, but it's like, I'm not perfect either. We all need to help each other understand why these things impact our company, our people. And if I was acting in a manner like my dad would be, and I would tell him all the time, like, this is not going to get people to want to do a good job for you, Dad. Believe it or not. And some of those people are still here 27 years later, so it's kind of crazy. Maybe I did some damage.
Faith. Yeah. They had faith, Christy. They had faith in you.
Yes. But I was curious too. I don't know how large the company is that you work for, but are there programs or anything in place for women to gather and talk, or just, talk about how they can help each other, or just, that sounding board? Because I know some companies have groups that they've built within the company to kind of have this women's group, or maybe it's diversity, right? As far as color or whatever it might be, to make you feel more inclusive. Is your company doing anything like that, or trying to, like, just to give you an example, we had a woman leadership coach that I used for a lot of our leaders here. We used to use a male. And I'm like, maybe a woman leadership coach would be different. And then my male COO decided, hey, can I work with the woman leadership coach to better understand how to work with women? Things like that.
Sure. We do have a culture council. So that's, kind of something that is, again, for our whole company. And so there's constantly things going on, whether it's just, just quick little meetings to get together, water cooler meetings, things like that. And just different activities, for just engagement with everyone, because for the most part, our company, as so many companies are now, everybody's remote for the most part. Right. So, we don't pass each other in the hallway. We don't get to pop into each other's office to have those quick conversations. So they've done a really good job of putting together that, like I said, that culture council, and just making sure that, there are just little meetings and events like that to allow for that for the company. And then for the most part too, I mean, everybody in the company, even up to our CEO, has, again, even though we're remote, kind of an open door policy, right? So, so if I need to reach out to our CEO, I can pop a message over on Teams to just say, hey, I was wondering about this, and it's not frowned upon, or it's not like, oh, you have to go through my secretary first or schedule a meeting. It's, everything's, very fluid. So, so we do have that in place, and just the overall encouragement of being a part of Women in Trucking, or any kind of, female organization or anything that supports that or encourages that. I mean, we certainly, it's encouraged, for us to be a part of those things.
No, that's awesome. Since you mentioned that the company is completely remote, do you ever get together as a group, like in person? Like, how does that work? Because I'm sure everyone's across the country potentially.
Yeah. Yep. So we do have an annual meeting where, the good majority of us all get together, kind of our own little company conference, right? And that happens in the fall. And then, depending on where everybody is located, we may or may not be close enough, some of us. So, we get together, or I will go visit, well, what was, my office. Again, I used to be operations manager for what was our personnel operations. And so I would go up to that office, all the time to visit with all of the people, and just check in on everything and everyone. So there's definitely opportunity for us to connect, and a lot of us too, maybe we connect at conferences. I'll be going to a risk management conference in April that our director of claims is going to be at. So I'll get to, interact with her. So we have those opportunities as well.
Well, that's good to hear. I would imagine, so we're hybrid here, where we're in the office 3 days a week, out 2 days, but the other 2 days, some people come in the office. I would love if they would come in the office another day. I love my hybrid as well, but I would imagine depending on what you do, I guess. When you're booking freight, it can be a little bit challenging, I think, when you're not completely with the team, even though you have the chats and all that kind of stuff. But I'd love to hear that people can reach out to the CEO. It's the same way here, where they can reach directly out to me, and whether they come in the office or ask me a question. And it's funny because all my coaches are like, you have to not be so visible, so available. And I'm like, that's part of building this. Like, I get that. It's not like I get bombarded by people asking me questions. I still think sometimes I call them to my office to ask, and I'm like, listen, I don't fire anyone. You're not coming here to be fired.
Right. Yeah. It's not, you're not having to come to the principal's office. It's fine.
Right,
you're okay.
It's
you have to start that invitation off with, you're not being fired. Can you come to my office for
Right. It's unfortunate though, but there's a lot of business owners that are driven by their ego, and they push their title all over. It's such a wrong thing. Who cares about titles? I don't care about title. If you treat people the way that you would like to be treated, things change, and they change amazingly, But a lot of times it's just that, no, it's my way or the highway kind of deal. That doesn't fly. I don't know how you thought about that, but I know that's definitely not the right way to go. So I got one more question for you. What is something you would have known earlier in your career? What's some advice that you could give some women out there that would benefit them?
Sure. So known earlier in my career in transportation, we'll go with that. Well, again, like I said, I kind of stumbled into it myself. So what I wish I had known was just how massive the industry is, right? Because I was one of those people who had that mindset of, if you said something about transportation, my brain went straight to truck driver. And so, did I see myself in this industry? Nope. Not for any particular reason. I just didn't.
Right. No, I agree. I feel
And
like it's almost like people, like not just truck driver, but almost like it's like, I hate to say the word, but dirty in a sense. It's
yeah,
like it's not sexy, so to speak.
You
right,
got a dirty job.
exactly.
Yeah, you can say that. You
Exactly,
can say that. It's a
exactly.
little dirty day in and day out. Yeah.
E Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think, to just know, yeah, the how massive the industry is, and just going back to the earlier question, of getting women in, to know that, yeah, there are a million different opportunities. It's not just getting into a truck. It's not just, yeah, not getting your hands dirty. You can be completely clean all day and stay clean all day, and still work in transportation.
True. True. Unless you're driving a
Oh,
forklift or stocking shelves, then you get the calluses and you know what kind of job you have by shaking
exactly.
someone's hand.
But you can still do that job if you want to be dirty.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
That's it. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today. Um, how would people get in contact with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. All of my contact information is there. If you want to chat about anything trucking, or are interested in hearing more about what my company does, certainly shoot an email to me at sgibson@tlccompanies.com. But would love to connect with anyone on LinkedIn.
And do you have any events that you're going to be going at in the very near future?
Like I said, so far, I'll be at a risk management conference in Indianapolis in April. And then, yeah, I'm actually in the process of looking at, all of the conferences. I know the trucking conferences are well underway, with Matt's just starting last week, and I totally missed it, and have had FOMO all week about it. And TCA, I think, is going on right now. So certainly, yeah, I'll certainly be posting stuff out on LinkedIn wherever I'll be going. But NAPIO Risk Management Conference in April is the earliest thing I'll be at coming up.
Awesome. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining Christy and myself today. I thought we had a very engaging conversation, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it was
having
great
me.
to hear your story and talk about your perspective, and you had some great advice for all of our listeners. So thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
So, folks, you can join Christy and myself on the Storytelling Chronicles, empowering women into logistics, every Monday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Until next week, we'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Bye.